Now, all I'm trying to say is that everything that I do operates out of that understanding that no matter what you and I are doing, we're trying to enhance our survival and well-being, and we don't mind doing it at the expense of something else. And what does this tell me, for instance, about oppression, about hazing? One of the items that you have here relative to hazing is that hazing is done as a good for the person you haze. You're trying to teach them discipline and so forth. That is always the ploy of the oppressor. You check it out. The oppressor always identifies their oppression as the best thing for the people they oppress. When I was there from 51 to 55. And I did not like the hazing. In fact, I didn't pay any attention to fraternities my first year. And then some of us noticed that there was, with the graduating senior class, there would only be a small number of brothers there. And so we said, well, if we want to change things, what we will do is to get a large Sphinx class, Sphinx, 8x8 Sphinx. Get a big group of us together. We take our little whippings, and then after all of that was done, we would have the power authority, the power numbers, and we could change the policy. So I said, okay, fine. Now, after the first 2 or 3 butt whippings, my fellow Sphinxman said, if I'm going to get my ass kicked, I'm going to have to kick some ass.
I think it is important to start by understanding that there are two sides to this coin. And that is that you have the oppressors and then you have the willing oppressee. And these two dynamics, of course, they're married because if you don't have the oppressees, then when the oppressors try to oppress, there will be a revolution. And so I think the beginning of all of this, for me, goes back to definitions of being a human being and what it is that we think that we are becoming. And I asked many people who are involved in this what they hope to gain from their engagement in this. And you do get these two stories. You know, the people who are involved in the oppression, they tell you that that they are helping, as he said, that they're helping the members. It's always in light of improvement of some sort. You don't hear people saying, well, I just felt like really being a slave master over somebody. People don't say that. You know, if you ask them, well, it sounds like that. But, well, not really. Then they give you all their rationale for this. When you ask people when they are willing to engage in this, most of the time what I hear are two factors coming together. The first factor having to do with a history before. Like in my case, all of the members of the male members of my family belong to fraternities. Most of them belong to one fraternity. And it was almost expected that, you know, when I came to college that I was going to join that particular fraternity. And I didn't know, again, I didn't know exactly what that was about. I knew that they had certain symbols and, you know, they colors and all. But what happened to me was I went to the meeting and it was stated at the first meeting that I went to, the guy said, yeah, they're going to put that board on your behind. Well, I'm 18 years old. And I got to tell you, Dr. Jones, I really said to myself at the first meeting, I'm too grown already. My folks stopped beating me when I was about 14. And I'm just too grown. That's just really was my attitude about it. I'm too grown for anybody to be beating on me now. So I'll see y'all.
We're involved in a discussion of proper decision making. We're trying to make an analysis of how to conduct the right decision making about hazing. Now that's a competency that is very critical to us. Our survival and well-being depends upon a number of competencies. For instance, the society decided that knowing grammar is critical for our socialization and existence. And so they teach us grammar from birth up, such that if I were to say to you, E-R, H-E-A-R-E, you would not have to go to a grammar book to notice that I had made an error. Why is that? Because you have developed that ER detection competency so strong that the moment you hear it, you know there's an error. Okay, now, they also teach us, in No Child Left Behind and so forth, that we should always give critical importance and value to the foundational competencies. Learning to read is foundational for a whole bunch of other things. Math is foundational for a whole bunch of other things. So they should be given priority. Now, it's easy for me to show that you and I use problem solving, critical thinking, policy analysis as much as we use grammar. But if you look at what value the society has placed on developing that kind of ER competency in us, what do you get? A big fat zero. Show me where any part of that is in the No Child Left Behind model. It's not even there. So I'm trying to suggest that this critical competency of learning how to solve problems correctly, decision making, critical analysis, systems analysis, because that's what we're doing, we're analyzing hazing. It's a system, it's a policy. And we're trying to decide whether it's right or wrong. And we're going to use some kind of apparatus to do that. So what I'm all about is teaching a generic model of problem solving, decision making, and the like, based on these universal generic behaviors like oppression and some others that I'm going to identify. That's what I'm all about.